Okay, folks, gonna talk about something a little different from what I usually talk about. She-Hulk. Now, I have not watched any of the new MCU show because it's crap. I know it's crap. But I was watching the live stream with Ricada, Sargon, and some guy, and they were all doing their Warhammer 40K thing. They started talking about She-Hulk, and like they did not understand why the premise within the show was that if She-Hulk is this strong feminine woman, this strong feminist icon, why is she also being portrayed as miserable, sad, lonely, and kind of a sleep around, a slut, a whore? And I remember sitting up there and I was thinking to myself, okay, apparently neither of these three men on my screen have ever actually read the She-Hulk comics. They never have. Now, why do I say that? Because it's unfortunately quite true. If you've ever read any of the She-Hulk comics over the past 10, 15 years, you know a lot about She-Hulk then. Now, She-Hulk debuted in 1979 and got a comic soon afterwards. In the original comics, first and foremost of all, she got a full blown blood transfusion from her brother. It wasn't she had some kind of accident and some of her brother's blood, not her brother, but her cousin, Bruce Banner, blood happened to drip on her and all of a sudden she's She Hulk. No, they were in a car accident somehow. Bruce managed to get her to some secret lab or whatever, and realizing that they had the same blood type and she needed a blood transfusion, he gave a large quantity of his own blood, and she became She-Hulk afterwards. In the comics, she had several really everyday relationships, romantic relationships with uh, a guy named Wright Wingfoot, who was the roommate of Johnny Storm during his college years, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. A guy named Zapper and a DJ named Ron Rodney or something like that. So in the 80s, she was very tame. She actually got married to the son of J. Jonah Jameson Jr. That marriage lasted about a year because she discovered that a former Avenger named Eros, also known as Fox, had manipulated her into having a relationship with Jameson. Now, how is that possible? Eros is Thanos' brother. His main power is the ability to manipulate people's emotions in romance. In other words, he can make you sort of fall in love with him or be attracted to him. But he can also use this power to make two people fall for one another. And that's what he apparently did. And when She-Hulk found that out, she got the marriage annulled. So she had only been married for a year. What can I say? Comics. She went on to basically have little relationships here and there over the course of the 80s. She got a revamp in the 90s, which turned her from sort of a side character into wanting to turn her into a major character. And because it was the 90s, they revamped her in a way where she was a strong, empowered woman that didn't need no man, kind of thing. And she began becoming basically a slut. The way they countered the slut is that they made her into a strong, empowered woman who's out there trying to get a man. She remained in her She-Hulk form. Jen Walters remained in her She-Hulk form consistently. Why? Because it gave her bigger titties, made her feel more confident, and also increased her sex drive. Yeah. This was one of the explanations for her high sex drive and her tendency to bring a guy home at least once a week, at least 5 to 6 days out of the week, because I'm a horn dog when I'm all greened up. Beyond that, it almost seems so funny to say. She had had different relationships with different Marvel superheroes. She was considered a cape chaser for a while. She's actually had a relationship with Juggernaut in 2004. Although Marvel has been trying to retcon that shit for years, but we all remember it. I think I've got the comic back in my stash. She actually had a relationship with Tony Stark. Now, I don't say relationship, I should say one night stand. Although Juggernaut was 2 or 3 nights. Tony Stark was one night, and it was a very reflective moment. But then again, it's Tony Stark. He's a man whore. Let's see, who else? Slept with a guy who worked for the S.H.I.E.L.D. Hulkbuster team. She slept with several other characters, including cosmically empowered characters. Yeah, she's a slut. But she can't keep a normal relationship because look at her. She doesn't want to be Jen anymore, regular old Jen, because she likes being confident. But most guys are intimidated by her, which is why she sticks with the superhero community, because at least they can sort of keep up. Since she has superhuman stamina and strength and resistance to injury, yeah, she kind of needs a guy who can really keep up with her. Although, like I said, she's had relationships with normal human men throughout the 90s. She did have one interesting point during the early 2000s where she decided to try to be a normal human being for about a week. She had just gotten tired of the drinking and the partying because superhuman stamina and metabolism means you can't get drunk, but you can stay up all night drinking. She could drink an entire keg and never get drunk. She got tired of it. It was miserable and expensive, so she spent several comics trying to just be Jen. Everybody's scared and shocked, like, why are you just Jen? What's going on? And I can't remember whether she lost a case or won a case on pure luck. And she went out and she partied and drank as normal Jen. Got so stinking sloppy drunk that one of her friends said, all right, let's take her home. She could get herself in trouble. And took her home. She slept, woke up in the morning, was late to work, and threw up. Had bad hangover and threw up. The physical reaction of all this throwing up and retching turns her back into She-Hulk. And the hangover and everything else immediately disappears. And she's deeply disappointed at this. Because she's like, I can't even enjoy taking the consequences of my actions. So she decides, okay, I'm going to stop sleeping around and drinking and being a slut. I don't know how long that went on, but apparently not very long. There's actually a comic where she, for some reason, can't remember what, has to recount or give a list of all the people she slept with. I shit you not. Her list as Jen Walters, non-She-Hulk form, was brief. But apparently, her list as She-Hulk was so long that the transcriber felt that they were going to have trouble keeping up with it. So, Jen's was 1 page long. She-Hulk was over 10 pages long. So yeah, she's a fucking slut. She's a Marvel Universe's bicycle. Bitch has slept with just about every fucking body. Except for Captain America, probably, and Wolverine. Although she may get around to that eventually. But yeah. Now, you might be saying, well, how in the world would Marvel do this? They always counted, they didn't show all of her lovers, for one. They always countered it with the strong, empowered woman who can go out and sleep with men. She's aggressive. She can be aggressive towards men, sexually aggressive, without being rapey. So it's okay. She's She-Hulk. She can be sexually aggressive. It's all right. Look at her. Now, the other thing some of you might be asking is, okay, she's sleeping with all these people. Is she on birth control? Or are they using condoms? Why isn't she pregnant? Has there ever been a show where she is pregnant? Well, there was. There was. In a sort of what-if alternate universe timeline referred as the Old Man Logan comic series, she has a number of children with her cousin, Bruce Banner. I shit you fucking not. Both of them in Hulk form, so that I don't even want to know how that fucking... Just remembering it creeps me the fuck out. It really does. Oh, okay, moving on. No. So, what about everybody else? Quite simple. She's a gamma irradiated being, just like her brother. So the gamma radiation is inside her body. So just about any semen that gets on up in there probably doesn't make it past the cervix. And if it gets lucky and make it past the cervix, it's probably so weakened it never can even penetrate the eggshell. So she quite literally, her pussy and womb are literally, it's like gamma irradiated spermicide. Just kills. It just kills. So she can't get pregnant. She literally just cannot get pregnant. She's not sterile. She just fucking can't get pregnant. This fucking comics. What the hell are you complaining about here, guys? She can't get pregnant because she's gamma irradiated. That does pose some fucking questions about what the fuck happens to these guys' penises after her. I think I remember she even slept with a saber-tooth. Although, I think for Sabretooth, it was a little more, he kind of sort of maybe gotten a little raped. I don't know. Considering Sabretooth's reputation with women, kind of, if he did get raped by She-Hulk, fucker kind of deserved it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was sort of a, we're both horny, let's just fuck kind of thing. Ugh. Sabretooth. In the end, one of the things that Marvel did with her is they made the sexy funny. They would put her on different covers. Like there's one of the most well-known ones. She's clutching a copy of the Daily Bugle, barely covering her front, and some hand off screen is handing her a pair of a jump rope, saying, and she's like, "Do I really have to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, we need to fill up 20 pages." Use your imagination, folks. It's a fucking joke, but still use your fucking imagination. Over the time in the comics, her clothing has gone from being more, traditionalist to tight. Especially her superhero uniforms. I mean, leotards well cut along the bikini line. They have rehashed that cover that I just mentioned numerous times. With one of them being, she's actually jumping rope. But she's naked, but the rope is spinning so fast you don't see her tits. She's always been a sex pot. She's been a fourth wall breaking sex pot since the 90s. So the portrayal of her in as far as that goes in the television show, that's real. That's her. She's a sex pot. She's a horn dog. She'll fuck anything she's interested in. Now, I can't find any evidence that she ever actually had sex with Daredevil in the comics. She has been up against Daredevil on several occasions and lost because Daredevil's a fucking good lawyer. While in the comics, Jen is also a good lawyer. She's not as good as somebody who's got more experience than Daredevil. That's just how it goes. Matt Murdock, he's fucking good. Beyond that, the portrayal of her in the television show and the portrayal of her in the comics is very different in that in the comics, she's not a whiny bitch who uses She-Hulk as her shield from, all the woes of the world. No. Jen as She-Hulk in the comics knows that her life is not perfect as She-Hulk. That she's had a lot of problems over the years just being She-Hulk. As far as wanting to settle down, I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that detail too damn much. But the Jen in the She-Hulk television show, personality-wise, is very little like a Jen in the comics. Now, honestly, I'm willing to, because of what I've seen from some of the clips of the show, it looks like the writers or that show were supposedly supposed to be all female. They probably read a quick synopsis of what She-Hulk was all about and went from there. Because they've never apparently actually read the damn comics, or else they would know how to portray her correctly. But what can you do? Put it bluntly, bitches be stupid. And one thing that Sargon said, and Nick Rekieta both said that was ultimately correct. That the television version of She-Hulk is not like the superheroine version in the comics. She is quite literally a foil for all of these writers on the show, most of them who are in their 30s and 40s, who are single and have no men in their lives, to cast their miseries upon and reverse those miseries by making Jen. Jen is a 35-year-old female, is a 30-something female lawyer who's got it all, but she still can't find happiness. But she's She-Hulk, so that sort of overpowers the deal. That's what they've done. They cast their miserable lot in light on her, and then try to play it off as a comedy. It doesn't work out very well, from what I've heard. But I gotta go. This thing's over 15 minutes, and I just wanted to put that out there so people will understand a little bit better. All right, everybody have a great day, great night. Take care. Bye-bye.